broadcasting. Touchdowns. Shut your mouth, broadcasting. First round draft pick. Believe we got stats, kid. Quarterback stacking. 100-yard dashing. So tap in for the action. What teams got traction?
Welcome to the Sim Podcast Show. I'm your co-host Eric, and I'm always joined by my co-host Ron. What up, Ron?
What's going on?
You know what we do? We talk about the National Football League on a weekly basis, including the playoffs. Ron, it's week 18. It is the last week of the season.
Finally
How
here.
do you feel about this season? How it's gone? How it played out?
Listen, for the Steelers, it's been, up and down, kind of crazy, but here we are with a winning record and a chance to get in the playoffs once again. So, I can't be too upset with how the season went. I'm just glad we got a chance to make it in. So I'm not going to complain.
Yeah, Pittsburgh should not be complaining. Although this week you were mad about that dude.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And we'll get to that too.
Oh my gosh.
We'll talk about that dude because I didn't add him to the NFL news topic, but I think I will. We're going to talk about the NFL news. We're going to do the Week 17 recap, our upset special, our power rankings for the last week, and then we'll do our Week 18 predictions. Ron, before I get into it, let's talk about the playoff scenarios, and we're gonna leave Pittsburgh till the end. So let's begin with the NFC, because I feel like almost except for the NFC South, most divisions are already locked in, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know that you picked Tampa Bay to win it. So if we're looking at the NFC South, or overall the NFC, what needs to happen? Because I see a lot of teams with an 8-8 record. So does Green Bay win and they're in? Does Seattle win and they're in? Can you say the same about New Orleans Saints? I don't know. I haven't looked into it as much as I normally would because the Patriots are not playing for the playoffs. But I mean, what needs to happen? I feel like every division is locked except for the South.
Yeah, so for Tampa and the South, right, it comes down to this last week. If Tampa wins, they're at 8-8 right now. They win, they're in. It's a lock. So
It said that they have the tiebreaker over New Orleans.
Right. The other way that they can get in is if they tie and then New Orleans loses or tie and then they're in. So really, the ball is in their court. They just need to win this week, and they're in. Now, for the Saints, they're also sitting at 8-8 as well, right? So they got Atlanta this week. They can win the South with a win plus a Tampa loss or tie, or if they tie Atlanta and then Tampa Bay loses. So that's basically. They need to one-up Tampa to get in at this point. So
basically, they can't get in as a wild card. They need to win the division. So I'm saying,
yeah, exactly.
Green Bay, they need to win because they have the same record as Seattle, right? So if Seattle wins and Green Bay wins, then their 7-8 is pretty much done.
Mm-hmm.
Done, right?
Green Bay would clinch a playoff spot, regardless if they win. It looks like so. If they win, they're in apparently, or they can get in with a tie and a Seattle loss, or a tie plus a New Orleans loss or tie. There's a lot of scenarios for Green Bay. It looks like they can also get in with. There's a couple of scenarios if they tie as well. It's some losses from Seattle or a tie from Seattle, plus a Tampa loss. There's lots of scenarios where they can get in as well. Even the Vikings still has they have an outside chance at this point. They need a lot to happen, but it's still up in the air too as well for Green Bay. But basically, if they win, they're in, just like Tampa. So for those teams, they got to win. They control their destiny.
And you can almost say that. Let's switch over to the AFC, because it's almost like the same thing. All the divisions are locked in except for the AFC South. So I know we're gonna leave the Steelers to the end. So Saturday night, Colts, Texans. Basically, one of them wins and they're in, or are they both in? I don't know, because they're 7-8 right now.
9. So who's 7 and 8?
Colts are at 7th place and the Texans are 8th.
Oh, 7th and 8th place. Yeah,
Right.
so they both are 9 and 7 as far as their record. So for Houston, they can get in with a win, obviously, or they can have a Jacksonville loss or tie, and then they're automatically in. For the Colts, it looks like Colts can get in with a win plus a Jacksonville loss or tie. Or if the Colts tie and Jacksonville loses, then they can also get in. So, yeah, and I know you want to leave the Steelers for loud. They have like 5 different scenarios, I think.
Yeah, we'll talk about those
That they can get
scenarios.
in.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's look at Jacksonville, because I feel like they're the ones playing the quote unquote lesser opponent. But in my upset special, I actually have Tennessee beating them, and I'm only have them beating them because Mike Vrabel gave this speech about, oh, we're still in it, we're still gonna, and it kind of got me hyped up. But at the same time, who's the quarterback? Because Levis is not there, right? It's gonna be Tannehill.
Yeah, I think Levis is going to be out, so I think they're moving forward with Tannehill as the starter.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough matchup. So basically, Jacksonville can win the division with a straight out win,
Right.
and then either the Colts or Texans are one of the teams are automatically out that loses, right?
Right.
Because obviously not all 3 teams are gonna make it in. Buffalo Bills, I think they're in even if they lose, right? Because they will be 10 and 7. They still would have, they would have a same record as one of the AFC South teams.
Yeah, so Buffalo, that's the interesting one, because they can win and get like the 2 seed. And then there's some scenarios, depending on like what happens with Pittsburgh, Jacksonville, and those other matchups, where they can miss the playoffs completely at 10 and 7, if that's what their final record is. So there's a lot to play for Buffalo, a lot riding on that game for the Steelers as well, obviously. But they can go all the way up to this 2 seed and lock that in with a win against Miami, or they can potentially miss the playoffs depending on what happens.
In Miami, they're not going to say anybody. They're basically playing for that number 2 spot.
Yeah, but they got some injuries. They've lost some key players, I think, on defense this past week. And I know the
Tyreek Hill burned his house down.
yeah, well, like some kid that was in the house burned part of the house. But their other receiver, he's looking to try to suit up. They don't know if he's going to play or not. So lots of injuries on Miami's side.
Yeah, lots of injuries. So that's, roughly, without talking about the Steelers, is roughly the playoff scenarios. Now let's switch it to the bad teams. Let's talk about the draft scenarios. Carolina basically has the number 1 pick on lockdown, even though technically that's going to the Bears. They have it on lockdown. And then I was looking up, what do the Patriots have to do to get in the number 2 scenario? Number 1, they basically need to lose to the Jets. Is that going to happen? I highly doubt that. Highly doubt that. Because number 1, they have like a 15-game streak over the Jets. I just don't see Bill Belichick saying no to that streak. He loves to stick it to the New York Jets any way he can. I'm sure that the team this week is going to be extra hype up. We know that Wilson's is not playing. He might be done for what we know. So who's going to be their quarterback? I don't even know. I don't know who.
No clue.
No clue whatsoever. We'll look that up. So let's say they do end up losing to the Jets. It's not like an automatic. They need like some scenarios to happen. And I was looking it up, and basically for them to lock in the number 2, they basically, because of the strength of schedule, they basically have the Washington Commanders have a lower strength of schedule than they do by 0.001%. So it's super tight, super tight. And then, so let's say the Patriots lose to the Jets, then the Commanders need to lose, then Arizona needs to lose, because obviously everyone is 4-12. So it's.
But let's talk about all those teams, because have been lots in the news, right? About what are these teams doing in the future? And I guess I'll start with Carolina. Is that the team you said has the first pick?
Carolina is going to give it to the Bears.
All right, so the Bears. Do you think they're sticking with Justin Fields? Because it seems to me that he can go either way. And, Fields he may have played himself into,
being a starter?
Being a
permanent starter?
Permanent, like potentially franchise quarterback. And for them not to draft a quarterback, do you think they're looking to draft a quarterback?
I think
what's your feeling on that one?
I think that if they decide to keep Justin Fields, they're gonna trade that number 1 pick to the highest bidder. So,
but it may not cost that much, right? If you're number 2 or number 3, to move up just 1 or 2 spots potentially.
Exactly, and basically, there's 2 teams that I know for a fact are looking for a QB: the Pats and the Commanders.
Well, that's what I was trying to get at. We know the Pats for sure. I don't know about Chicago. I know about Arizona. They said they are committed.
I mean, the coach said that.
Yeah. Now, what they say now in January
what happens in April
can be different things. Now, Washington's interesting because they're going to start everything, right? A new coach, potentially new OC. So Bieniemy might be gone potentially. They got Howell, who played really, I think he's leading the league in passing yards, if I'm not mistaken. So do they stay with him or they look for someone else?
That's why I'm not sure, because he only had those kind of stats because Bieniemy was there.
Oh, well.
So if Bieniemy leaves, is he going to replicate that? I don't know. That's why it's like connected.
Yeah. I think that's why I'm saying we don't know if any of those 4 teams outside of the Patriots are a lock for choosing a quarterback. So for the Pats, they're probably going to play to win, to me. Belichick's going to do that anyways.
Yeah.
And they may still luck out with the first quarterback taken, whether it's via trade with Chicago or, sitting there and getting the quarterback they want without moving.
Yeah, I mean, for them to get the number 2 pick, according to Tankathon.com, which is a real website, a real app that, monitors all this stuff, the Falcons need to beat the Saints, which I don't think that's going to happen. The Steelers beat the Ravens. Yes, I think that's possible. The Texans need to beat the Colts. Who knows? That game can go either way. The Bears need to beat the Packers. Again, Packers are playing to be in the playoffs. The Broncos need to beat the Raiders. And I just saw that Devontae Adams was like, yes, we should keep Pierce, even though he's a terrible coach.
Oh, terrible. Wow.
I mean, 1 week he looks great, and then the next week he looks horrible. I don't know. Well, let's not say he's a terrible coach, because I know that not all his people are there. So does he get an off season to get better? I don't know. Because that Raiders owner, he gets bad advice from people. So you just don't know. It's just too many. Like you said, the playoffs, too many what ifs. The drafts are definitely too many what ifs. So
it's crazy.
It's week 18. This is what the NFL loves, right?
Absolutely.
The other thing that I wanted to talk to you about was the refs. We looked this up because we were chatting back and forth. Why aren't they full-time refs? And I sent you this article from 6 years ago that they were, quote unquote, the NFL was going to make the refs full-time.
So there was a story that they were looking into. It wasn't official, but part of the collective bargaining agreement, I guess, is that they wanted full-time referees.
Yep, and they punted that to the next CBA agreement, which happened 2 years ago. again, they didn't do their full-time refs. They let it lapse, and now costing them games. Literally costing games now.
So, and let me be clear. It's not just about making referees, officials full-time. I don't think that's the only answer to improving, how they're performing. I think there has to be a lot more transparency into like some of the decisions that they make. When they make a mistake, they got to come out and own it, right? The NBA does it when they make mistakes. NFL, I feel like they brush everything on the table and try to lie and make all this crap up. They got to admit to having a problem. Officiating is a problem. It's costing, teams wins. It's costing a lot of people who gamble, costing them money. They got to first admit that there's a problem. And then once they do, they got to figure out how do we work together with these officials who are all human to make it better. Is it adding additional officiating? Is it adding instant replay to more calls? What is it? Is it a bunch of different things? And it probably is a bunch of different things, because they're not going to get every call right, but you got to have something in there to, if a mistake is made, to correct it. So,
And the thing is this, let me play devil's advocate for a minute, because I can almost see what's happening with these referee unions. They're going, okay, you want these refs to be full-time, but what are they going to do the other 6 months out of the year? Because there's no way that if you are, a lawyer, a banker, a farmer.
There's a lot to do. Schooling, training,
For 6 months, you're going to be in school? And then what? You're going to miss out on income?
Athletes get paid, for 6 months,
refs
right?
don't make millions of dollars.
Yeah, but who cares? Are you seriously talking about what are they going to do? The NFL is a multi-billion dollar industry. You think
if they don't want to pay the refs,
they're a multi-billion dollar industry. You can't pay your officials full time.
That's the problem. Is that these refs? Let's say you're a ref and you're a lawyer on the side. You make, let's say you make $300,000 as a lawyer and $200,000 as a ref. Are they going to pay him $500,000 a year? NFL is not going to do that. Even though they swim and the refs make $200K a year.
Do they?
Yes.
I'm surprised it's that much.
Yeah. Well, it used to be $150 and then they upped it. Yeah. So it's
wow, that's true.
It's what are you gonna do? I feel like the NFL doesn't want to pay that, and now look what's happening.
No one's saying. I don't think anyone's saying pay them more money. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying making them full time.
Yeah, but that's the argument. The argument is okay, you want me to be full time? You want me to go to school 12 months out of the year? Mm-hmm. You want me to go these seminars? You want me to? Then you have to make up for the rest of my income. That's the argument. That's what they don't see eye to eye. The side of the refs union is saying, hey, if you want us full time, you got to pay us. Mm-hmm. And the NFL, like we said, they don't want to do that, but yet they're swimming in money.
Yeah.
So
it's greed. That's what it comes down to.
It comes down to greed.
And that's why the NFL can never say they care about the integrity of the game. I don't want to hear any of that crap, because all they care about at the end of the day is money. That's what it comes down to. That's why we have games in freaking Mexico and Germany and soon Brazil, right? Mm-hmm. So that's all it comes down to. That's the number one thing. I think it would help the NFL if they added some transparency and made officiating better. That only, to me, helps the NFL. Listen, people make mistakes. I think fans want to know that those mistakes are being addressed, right? There's some sort of coaching involved. With the officials, there's punishment. Whether that be sitting out, for a game or two or whatever. There's got to be some sort of, penalties for the officials too if they miss crucial calls. And they need, they need to call out when they make mistakes. And we got to avoid mistakes by having, clearer rules in some cases and instant replay in others.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, is that they talked about it 6 years ago. Mm-hmm. We're talking about it now. I'm sure they talked about this in the 2000s, in the 90s. It's just do it. I mean, I think college has full-time refs, right?
I'm not even sure.
I'm not even.
don't
I
think
know
so.
that they have a better system in place where there's actually checks and balances.
Yeah, I
Why-
think it's done by the conference. So whatever conference you're in, there's officials for each, if I'm not mistaken.
So it's like,
But you know what I like? What baseball does? Like baseball during the regular season is one thing. When they get to the postseason, they add officials, right? They add extra officials to have extra eyes on what's going on. It's simple things I think the NFL can do that they're not even making any effort whatsoever. At least from the outside looking in, as a casual fan, we don't see any effort being made to fix these issues.
I mean, if you were an owner and your team got hosed like they did the other night on Detroit, that's one person out of 32 owners. Are they gonna just, they're gonna, oh, you know what? Fuck the state of Michigan. Oh, well, that's one team. It doesn't matter. It shouldn't be that way.
No,
Because
no.
then, like you said, it doesn't get competitive. And you talk about, oh, we want our games to be equal, parity, blah, blah, blah.
But
Okay, this is where it starts.
Yeah.
The officials need to be, 100% full time.
And you know what else? I don't think we ever talk about it. What's the impact for having bad officials? A loss? It's not just a loss. It's about
No, because now Dallas
people-
has a tiebreaker.
that. Well, yeah, that too. But I'm talking about coaches getting fired potentially because of a loss, because they're not winning. That means you're costing potentially people jobs, right? So to me, it's just something. It should be, everybody should be on the same page of wanting to fix it, because they got a problem. And the first thing is admitting that there's an issue. And I think every time Goodell gets asked the question about it, he just ducks it. He pretends, that they're making changes and there's not an issue. When in actuality, there is an issue. Almost every game, you turn on
Almost
any
every game, yeah.
turn on any primetime game, you're going to see, calls. And like I said, calls are going to be missed. But it's at crucial times of the games too. When there's like 2 minutes on the clock or whatever. It's like big calls that they're making that are just wrong. And they got to be a way to fix it.
Yeah, they have to wait. We don't have the solutions, but we also feel like, yes, they should be critiqued. They should be like, if you're gonna, NFL is a public sport, right? Where we talk about the players, the GMs, the coaches. Why not talk about the refs? They're the ones that chose to, or inspired to be like their best at it. This is the pinnacle. And Ron, the other topic that I want to talk about is Mark Madden.
Yeah.
I guess he's a freelance writer.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. So is he making up stories? Like what's his focus right now?
So he's a Steeler writer, blogger, whatever you want to call him. And he's known throughout the Pittsburgh community. He has contacts,
Everyone has sources.
Everyone, has contacts, right? But he's one of those people, and this isn't just Pittsburgh thing. I think this is a whole nationwide thing, because I'm sure you can tell me of like Patriot bloggers
There's
too.
a few.
There's so many people in the media in Pittsburgh that pretend to be fans of the Steelers and want the best for Pittsburgh.
Supposedly.
But every other story they write is something negative, whether it's about the head coach, the quarterback, or whatever. It's like they look for the negative because they know it's going to, people are going to go gravitate to it. It's going to get clicks. So Mark Madden is someone who's notorious for doing that, making false reports, right? Quoting unnamed sources who turn out to be nobody, right? And he's gotten caught red-handed several times by players coming out and, speaking, the truth and the complete opposite of what has happened. He's tried to throw TJ under the bus. He was trying to do it to Mika before. And at this point, you would think, okay, you've been caught red-handed before. You're not trustworthy. I'm not going to believe what you say, but he put that story, this fake report out there that he heard from someone that Kenny didn't refuse to be the backup quarterback or whatever that is. And of course, the media took off with it. Other bloggers and stuff were like, well, I'm going to quote this
That's how I
from Mark
found it.
Madden, right? And I'm going to put it on my website, or I'm going to tweet about it. Oh, there's a report that Kenny, and it came from Mark Madden, whatever. And they add on to it. It spreads like cancer, a disease. And all of a sudden you got the player who's just like, why am I being attacked? Right? Why am I being attacked by all these false reports? It's kind of like exactly what happens in real life. That's what it comes down to, right?
Yeah, basically.
Basically exactly what happens in real life. You got like some news organizations that make up stories. I'm not going to say which ones they are, right? But everyone knows they make up stories. You got other, people that will quote those things. And then you got fans at this point who are just looking for anything to be upset about. They don't like Kenny for whatever reason. He has long hair, or he hasn't played well, even though he has a winning record overall. It's just they want to find a story that makes Kenny look like he's, make him the scapegoat, and they gravitate to that, and then they say, yeah, we got to get rid of him, this and that. When the whole thing is like, Kenny never said that. Mike Tomlin came out and said that never happened. It's just ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. And Mark Madden, this is the last. We'll never talk about him particularly, but like you mentioned, there's other bloggers. There's other.
I'm sure every
quote
sports
unquote
team.
journalists. They just go negative.
It makes more story. It gets more people engaged. Is to go negative, right? It's go negative. Find something for people to be angry about. And put these fake reports out there, and it's no wonder to me that the players get pissed off and they're like, "I'm not going to talk to the media." Why do you think Bill's the way he is? You think Bill?
From day one.
Yeah, from day one. He saw it. He's like, "I'm not going to deal with you clowns." If I'm telling you, if I was a player and I had to address stuff like that, I'm going to tell all of them that they can't. They're not reporters. They have no integrity. And I would just go off on all of them,
I actually liked it when Marshawn Lynch did it in the Super Bowl, and he got fined. And he said, "I'm only here because I don't want to get fined." He just kept saying that.
Yep.
Listen, I totally. Now he works in the media, which is funny, but back then he was like, "I don't know why I need to talk to you guys."
Yeah.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with football.
Yeah.
So why even bother?
Yeah. The thing, and people say, "Well, what's in it for Madden?" Well, look how much exposure he just got by putting that story out. A fake story that's been debunked by 5-6 different sources, including Kenny Pickett himself.
Yeah.
Give me a break. It's just it's annoying to deal with that, and it's disappointing that fans believe it too. Because if you go out to Bleacher App or wherever you follow your team, it's like, people, did you hear this? Did you hear that? Can you believe Kenny? We got to get rid of Kenny. I can't believe we do. Are you freaking? Look at the source. Be smart. Use some common sense, and fans are not smart enough to do that.
All right, Ron, let's go over Week 17 recap real quick, and let's start at New England at Buffalo. And full disclosure, this game was on New Year's Eve. I was entertaining. I can only scoreboard watch, but final score was 21-27. You had Buffalo winning 23-20, which was pretty close. Had New England winning 24-23. Ron, I just saw highlights. I just saw New England turn it over 4 times, making this game a little bit closer. I saw that Josh Allen was not himself during the whole entire game. I mean, he had no touchdowns whatsoever. He had 1 pick. I feel like
2 fumbles too.
2 fumbles, and we actually, had 100 yards, over 100 yards rushing. So Ezekiel Elliott did his thing, but we still lost. I mean, what do you want to say? What can you say? The defense, I feel like, did its part, but the offense was terrible again. I mean, this is basically what has been happening all year. So, and I know that this week, the big talk is this going to be Bill's last game? And we just had this conversation about negative sports writing. I feel like everyone is gravitating to that, and like, you know, this should be like a farewell game. Like, we should just, you know, say goodbye. Thanks for the memories, blah, blah, blah. But I feel like, I just don't feel like, listen, we haven't been married, or we haven't been on the same job for more than 20 years. Endings are never, you know, civil, right? You never like just say, okay, well, it didn't work out, goodbye. I think if this is Bill Belichick last week, it's gonna get ugly before all the formalities happen. So it's like, what's the point? Do you really want that for your team? Do you want Bill to air out the laundry on like what happened the last 23 years? I don't know. To me, it's like, yes, maybe it's time, but at the same time, this defense has actually been doing its job. So I don't know.
The more time that has gone by, the more I'm leaning towards he's coming back, and it's not even really going to be a question of if he's coming back anymore. The team has played hard, at least on defense. This specific game, I didn't watch the game, but I was scoreboard watching the whole time. Zappe blew it with 3 interceptions, and Patriots had all the opportunity to win the game and take the game, and we needed that. We, being the Steelers, needed that. I was hoping the Bills would lose and potentially give us a better chance into the playoffs, but Patriots didn't come through. Now, I don't think that's on Belichick. You know, Zappe didn't do his part. They don't have a quarterback. You know, that's why we're started this whole thing talking about the draft and what teams are going to be looking for a quarterback. So, you know, I think Bill's going to be back at the end of the day. That's just my gut feeling. I don't think it would end this way. I don't think Kraft is going to allow it to end this way. I think when it is time for Bill to leave, Kraft is going to speak on that publicly in advance so that Bill can get the advance, like, you know, congratulations and the send-off that he deserves. Not just like a surprise, okay, the season's over, guess what, fans are moving on. That's not going to happen. I don't think Kraft is going to do that at all.
Listen, I definitely feel like we should build a statue for someone who won 6 Super Bowls, took us to 9 of them, won countless divisions, countless conference championships. It's just like, why? I feel like earlier we talked about the negativity around like who's reporting on the team. And I feel like, yes, we can name the reporters that are leaning towards the negative, and we can name reporters that are leaning towards a positive. And, you know, just this week I saw like 2 journalists go at it because one wants to keep Bill in place and the other one wants to see Bill go. And it's like, listen,
going back and forth.
Yeah, it's like a civil war almost.
Yeah,
it's
that's
like,
exactly what's happening in Pittsburgh. That's what I'm saying. This happens, I'm sure, all sports, all cities, right? That's the same exact thing. Everyone like jumped on Mark Madden for reporting fake news because they know who Kenny Pickett is, and they felt like they were attacking, you know, Kenny Pickett's integrity, his character. And you can't do that if you're a sports reporter, right? You shouldn't attack anyone's character, and that's what Mark Madden has done repeatedly. So they've all been going at it back and forth. So I'm not surprised it's happened in New England too.
Yeah, it's terrible. The next game is Pittsburgh at Seattle. You had them winning. You had Seattle winning 21-17. I had Pittsburgh winning 21-17. Final score was 30-23 Pittsburgh. Ron, why did you think that Pittsburgh was going to lose this game?
I honestly, I thought it was going to be a tough game, which it was, at least the start of the game. Actually, the whole game was pretty tough. I didn't think Mason would be able to repeat it. I thought he would need to make some big throws, which he did, but we ran the ball so well, which I wasn't expecting. I expect to have some success, but we dominated so much in the running game. We kind of kept a lot of the pressure off of Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, I mean, Najee Harris, is this his best game in the last 2 years?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say so. But, you know, we did so much running the ball. And then Mason, you know, he made some good throws too. That kept us, kept our drives going. So Mason's done a great job. That dude will stand in the pocket. He'll go through his reads, right? And, that's stuff that Trubisky for sure wasn't doing. And then Kenny, in his second year, he was struggling to do some of that too. So, he's given us that spark that we've needed. But I thought, you're asking why I thought we'd lose. I also thought Seattle would, with all their weapons, their running game, their receivers, the Steelers, having a lot of injuries on defense, I thought they'd be able to control the ball a little bit more and then win the game at the end. But that's not what happened. Pittsburgh, took the lead and kind of held on to it all the way, till the end.
Ron, who was your upset special?
Oh my gosh. My upset special was the Detroit at Dallas. So Dallas was favored by 6, which I still can't believe. I had Detroit winning 28-27. They lost because of officials. They lost 20-19. So, disappointed, on how that went. I thought Detroit, for the most part, outplayed Dallas to a certain extent. I know the Dallas receiver went off a little bit, but I thought Detroit really played well in a hostile environment and deserved to win that game, and they got hosed.
They sure did. Because that was a Saturday night game, right? So I was watching the game. We were all watching the game because I always liked Dallas because they play good at home, but I didn't think that they were going to get assisted by the refs at home. That's like, that's like double entendre. Like, damn, you play well at home and you got help from the refs. That's terrible if you're a Detroit Lions fan. And we just talked about how the NFL needs to put these refs on full time. My upset special was the Giants, the LA Rams at Giants. I thought the Giants would win. They actually lost. Guess what? 2-point conversion again. They didn't make it. So they lost 25-26. But it wasn't, I don't think it was the refs' fault, like Detroit game. They just fumbled the 2-point conversion. That's basically what it comes down to. So Giants let me down. Even though they played really good at home, this time they let me down. Ron, who are your top 5 teams in your power ranking?
All right, so no change to the teams in my top 5 this week. I think the order changed, though. So I got Baltimore, number 1. I had them number 1 last week as well. San Fran, I have it number 2. They're at number 2 again. This week, I got Dallas at number 3. So I got them sliding up from 4, even though they lost. I put them up to 3. Miami, I dropped them to 4, and then Detroit right there at 5.
I pretty much have the same as last week. I just took out Philly because, Philly is on the decline at the wrong time of the year. This is now they lost to Arizona. Yes, it was the defensive coordinator comeback, and but still lose to Arizona. What is happening? What is happening with Philly right now? Is the defense that bad or is the offense that bad? What's going on? I can't put my finger on it.
It's both. It's been both.
I saw a story that they were trying to blame AJ Brown for what's going on. It was like this. Why would you blame him? One person, one player.
No,
there's no way that he can affect all the other 52 guys on the team. So I dropped Philly. I actually moved up Cleveland over Dallas because I felt like the refs gave Dallas that game. So I was like, no, I'm not gonna bring them up. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I just took Philly out of the game. Baltimore is still number 1, San Francisco number 2, Cleveland 3, Dallas 4, Miami 5. Even though they lost, but I think that in the AFC, Baltimore and Miami and Cleveland, to me, those are, the top 3 teams in the AFC, to me anyway.
It's to me, so it's definitely Baltimore. To me, they're in a tier of their own. And then I put Miami in a tier of their own. And then from there, it's up for grabs, to be honest with you. I think between Buffalo, Cleveland, heck, even the Steelers. I think.
You don't like Kansas City?
Kansas City. There's just something wrong in Kansas City. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. There's something wrong in Kansas City. They're not scoring points. Kelsey has been invisible since dating, who.
You gonna blame it on Taylor Swift?
I'm not blaming it on Taylor Swift, but I'm just saying it's just a coincidence. And then, they don't have a receiver. They've had that issue the entire season. But yeah, I guess I would add them to that third tier. But for me, it's definitely Baltimore in a league of their own. Miami right underneath them. We'll see how these injuries affect them going forward. And then, it's up for grabs after that. By the way, did you see, we probably should have added this, you saw Dalvin Cook signed with Baltimore today?
Yeah, I saw that he was released by the Jets. I didn't know that he signed with Baltimore.
Yeah.
And they, I can see that because then they lose the rookie Baltimore, the rookie running back.
Yeah.
So yeah. I can see that. Let's go into week 18 because we talked about the draft scenarios. New York Jets at New England. 2 point. New England's favored by 2 points. Over and under is 30. Ron, what's your prediction?
So believe it or not, I got New England winning 16-10, and I went back and looked. The last time I picked New England to win a game was in Week 12 against the Giants. So it's been a while that I picked the Pats to win, but I feel confident that they'll go out and win this week. Jets, there's nothing for them to play for whatsoever. I can see Patriots winning this. I got by 6 points, but it can get out of hand to me.
You think it can get out of hand? Like New England scores a lot more than 16?
Because the Jets aren't even playing defense right now.
I have New England winning 10-6, and if it was up to me, I'm not in the NFL. I'm not playing for New England, but if it was up to me, they should lose this game just to get help getting that number 2.
I thought you were against tanking.
Listen, it's not up to me. So I don't play football for the New England Patriots. I'm just a fan. And on the last game, well, you know what? It is the Jets. Beat the hell out of them because I hate for New York to have like some kind of like, talk or some kind of like step above New England going into the season. So yeah, 10-6 but like you said, it could get. I'm not saying that New England can score a lot of points, but I just can't see Bill Belichick losing this game, especially when they have a 15-game streak of winning games against the Jets.
You give up 37 points to the Browns, talking about the Jets, against Flacco, then you're supposed to be one of the top defenses in the league. That tells me you've checked out. You're basically in golf mode at this point.
The next game, Pittsburgh at Baltimore. Pittsburgh is favored by 3.5. The over-under is 38.5. Ron, what's your prediction?
Lots of players sitting for the Baltimore Ravens.
Lamar is not even going to play.
No, Lamar's not playing. I think their safety's not going to play. There's a lot of guys not playing. So I'm going to go with a Pittsburgh win. Now, the games are never easy in Baltimore, even if it's the backup. But I got 23-16, Pittsburgh winning. I think Baltimore is just let's just be healthy when we get to the playoffs, which is the right thing to do. And it wouldn't shock me if they got like the third string in there, quarterbacks, running backs.
For Baltimore?
Yeah, by the second half.
So Ron, let's go on what needs to happen for Pittsburgh to get in the playoffs. What needs to happen?
Yeah, so let me pull that back up. Because there's 5 different scenarios for the Steelers to get in. So obviously the best thing they should do is to win. They want to win. But they also need help, right? So if they win and have Buffalo lose, they're in. Or if they win and Jacksonville loses or tie, they're in. If the Steelers win and the Colts and the Texans end in a tie, and I think that game is Saturday night.
Yep.
So if they end in a tie and the Steelers win, Steelers are in. So we can find out as early as Saturday. The fourth is Steelers tie, and the Colts and Houston do not end up in a tie, and Jacksonville loses. So if Jacksonville loses, Steelers tie, and whether Houston or Indy, doesn't matter, one of those teams win, we'll be in. And then the last one is if we lose, believe it or not. So if the Steelers lose, the Colts and Houston does not end in a tie, so there's a winner. Either team wins.
Right.
Jacksonville loses. Jacksonville is playing who?
Tennessee.
And then Denver wins.
And they're playing the Raiders.
So even losing, you can see that. I can see that scenario happening. Although I don't see the Steelers losing, but I can see, Jacksonville losing and Denver winning for sure. But
yeah, when I also had Pittsburgh winning 24-10 because Pittsburgh is gonna play their A team. Baltimore is gonna have, like I said, the third stringers playing. They're basically locked in the number one spot, so it doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, do you want to rest your starters 2 weeks or like 3 weeks? It's like, let's the more the merrier, right? So I can see the Pittsburgh winning this game, and then everything kind of works itself out.
What score you got?
I got a 24-10.
Okay.
So, who is your upset special one?
So I have to dig a little bit in the well here. So San Fran is on the road at the Rams, even though that's really not a road game. They're favored by 3.5. I got the Rams, who have something to play for. San Fran does not. Purdy's already been ruled out. He's not playing. McCaffrey's not playing. I got the Rams winning this one 23-17, and this line probably moved since those announcements. I didn't look at it again, but it was a 3.5 point spread at one point, and I got the Rams winning.
I could see that happening, especially with San Francisco sitting everybody on the team.
Yeah.
My upset special, Jacksonville at Tennessee. Jacksonville has a 5-point favorite. I have a final score of 17-14. Listen, same thing as last week. I don't have any data to prove this. I just saw a snippet of Mike Vrabel kind of giving a speech of like, no, this team doesn't quit. We're still playing hard, blah, blah, blah. I actually want to see that. I don't know. I think I might be at work Sunday by the time they play this game, but I actually want to see how hard the Titans go. That will determine whether or not they want to end Jacksonville's season.
It'll be great.
It would be awesome. I mean, not only would I get the point, but then Jacksonville gets to go home, and who knows? Trevor Lawrence has to think about how awful of a season he had, whether he was injured or not. We don't know, but I definitely wanted to see, because I'd rather see the Texans win out, but at the same time, I don't want to see the Colts. I don't want to see the Indies. I know that they have a really good set of sprinklers. I know that they have a really good team, but I just want to see them. I'd rather see Texans because, like I said, that was my quote-unquote adopted team. All right, so we're going into Week 18. Ron, what do you want to tell the Steelers fans out there?
Listen, man, we got a good chance of getting into the playoffs. We just got to take care of our business first. It sucks that it comes down to this, and I think next week we'll probably talk about the end of the season, playoffs, what we expect. But I want to review, right, how our team's finished. Let's go back and look at what we predicted for a final record. As I'm thinking about it, we could have been sitting here pretty in the playoffs, locked it up. We beat the Patriots and Cardinals, two teams we should have won. So, and that would have given us 11 or 12 wins, which, I forgot what I chose, but I think it was 11 or 12 wins I expected from the Steelers this season. So, We got a chance to get in. That's all that matters. I'll take 10 wins if it comes with a playoff opportunity and a playoff win. That's the other thing I said at the beginning of the year. It's not just enough to make the playoffs. For me, Mike Tomlin has to win a playoff game in order to get some sort of an extension. If he doesn't do that, then it's 8 straight years at that point, or 8 years, whatever.
I think it's going to be 8.
Yeah, not having a playoff win. So he's got not only get in, he's got to win a game. And at this point, we're fighting to get in. Let's just get in.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the Patriots won the Super Bowl in 2018. I feel like every team has a 5-year buffer. And this is kind of like 2024, so we're going into year 6. And look at what happened. Now the team is in shambles. They need to rebuild. This is kind of like what I expected. I knew that they weren't going to make the playoffs, but I think I gave them 9 victories, which not even half of that. So, listen, if we need to rebuild. The defense was there, so...
And you had some injuries. Gonzalez was gone the whole season.
Judon. So, come on, guys. Don't throw out the baby with the water, like they say. I don't know how the saying goes, but don't just repeat everything and start from scratch. There's something needs to happen, and I feel like Kraft has something up his shirt, something up his sleeve, basically. So next week we're actually gonna have playoff football. We're actually gonna talk about playoff football, tournament time. No longer will we talk about horrible, terrible teams. These are not all, but these are some of the best teams out there that make the tournament. So be happy for your team if your team made it. Be happy if the team didn't make it. And I'm sure that in a couple months we'll have our draft show and we'll talk about draft and all that.
Lots to talk about.
Yeah, we have lots to talk about, but hey, this is it. This is the season. It was what I expected, but worse. What I expected, but worse.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, it is what it is. I don't have anything else to say.
Same here, man.
Yeah. So, we're going to end it. It's cold in Florida, one of those cold nights. Then tomorrow, actually, it's going to be cold this whole entire weekend, I think.
I think we get rain too on Saturday.
So, maybe next time we do the show, we won't be as huddled up and stay warm, staying cool. My sprinkler's gone out, so it's time to go. So in that case, I say peace.
Hey guys, thanks again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Any questions or comments, feel free to hit us up on Shut Your Mouth Podcast at gmail.com. That's ShutYMPodcast at gmail.com. You can also hit us on Twitter or on Instagram at SYM Podcast. Thanks again.